up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel, or if it's your first time here, welcome to my channel. My name is Delana. If you are a returning subscriber, then thanks for coming back. So I did a little like tips and tricks whenever I talked about the difference between setting powders and finishing powders. Both of these are setting powders, but I just kind of talk about the differences and when you should use them and how you should use them and how you should not use them, or everything in between. So if you're interested in that video, I will link it right here. You can hop on over there and watch it if you want. So I asked in that video if you guys liked that kind of stuff and if you wanted to see more tips and tricks like that, and you said yes. So here I am doing another tips and tricks video. So today I will be talking about, if I can pick it up, primers. And these are all of the, oh, there's a foundation right there. I need to put this guy in there and this guy. I'll be talking about primers. So I have my primers and setting spray in this little compartment right here. It's like this black box. It's pretty deep. Yeah, and I just have it separated. Very few of these are setting sprays. Like, it's just like this little section right here that's setting sprays, and everything else is primers. So I have quite the primer collection. I am a huge complexion junkie. Like, anything complexion, skincare, foundation, concealer, powders, primers, everything, like anything that has to do with complexion, like that's my thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love complexion products because I feel like your complexion and the way that it looks and, you know, the texture of your skin and everything like that, it makes such a difference in your makeup. You know, like that's what everyone is looking for. They're looking for that flawless skin. So like all these complexion products is what I like to look for. Setting sprays as well even. So today I'm going to be talking about the different kinds of primers, what a primer is, when you should use it, when you shouldn't use it, and the different kinds of primers that there are. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So I honestly think that primers kicked off and really became a thing because a lot of people don't know that healthy skin and skin that, like, the better your skin looks, the better your makeup will be. And a lot of people didn't know that makeup artists take time to prep the skin before they apply the makeup, because that's what makes the biggest difference in how the makeup sits and how it lasts and everything in between. So I think that primers really became a thing whenever companies realized that not everyone's a makeup artist and not everyone knows how to prep their skin. So this gives you a step to target certain concerns that your skin has to kind of prep your skin for you. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's called a primer, because it primes the skin for you. For those of us who don't have, you know, for just the everyday consumer that doesn't have, you know, the extensive knowledge that makeup artists, or even, yeah, just that a makeup artist has, which is totally fine. Like, it's not like a bad thing. You know, I think that's where the market of primers kind of started, and now it's really expanded. Companies have realized how much that they can do with primers and what primers can do for the skin and for the makeup and everything in between. So it used to just be like smoothing primers, but then they started coming out with hydrating primers, mattifying primers, radiance primers. You know, everything started branching off, and now primers are like an essential step. Everybody knows about primers. Well, not everyone, which is why I'm making this video, because I still get clients that walk into the store and they're like, what's a primer? You know what I'm saying? So that's part of the reason why I wanted to make this video, is for those of you who may just be getting into makeup, or who are into makeup but have never really used a primer or whatever. This will kind of give you a place to start. So I'm going to start off with blurring primers, because blurring primers are smoothing, blurring, whatever you want to call them. They are the primers that most people look for, and they're the primers, they would be considered like the original primers. I think really the first primers that were created were for blurring and smoothing fine lines, pores, and everything in between. So with that, I would say probably the most popular one would be the Smashbox Photo Finish, which obviously mine as well love. This has been one of my favorites for a long time. And what gives that smoothing effect in most primers, not all of them, which I actually have one here that doesn't have this ingredient, but in most primers, it's silicone and dimethicone that gives that smoothing effect. So it's what helps fill in the pores and blur the fine lines and everything in between. So whenever you're looking for a primer, silicone and dimethicone, if you're looking for that smoothness, is usually what you're looking for. A few examples of some smoothing primers would be the Smashbox Photo Finish, which I do have a couple of full ones here. And these aren't even the full size. I have a little tiny sample size, and then I have like the smaller sizes, and then they have a full size. And the full size is like twice as big as this guy. I just somehow ended up with all these minis, which I don't even really know how. There's also the Marabella Prime. This one is for face and eyes, but personally I like to use this one only for my face. It reminds me a lot of the Mary Kay primer, which I used to use. I know a lot of people don't use Mary Kay, but I grew up with my mom selling Mary Kay, and a lot of her friends, a lot of people we knew sold Mary Kay, so I did use it quite often. And this reminds me a lot of the Mary Kay primer. And then the Lancome, I actually haven't even used this one yet, but it's one that I have that I've been planning to do a wear test on. But this would be a great example. This one's called the La Base Pro Perfecting Makeup Primer Smoothing Effect, and this one is oil free. Actually, a lot of these kinds of like smoothing, blurring primers are oil free. So Smashbox one is oil free. I don't know if this Marabella Prime is oil free. It doesn't say it is. So this one I was a little bit hesitant as to whether I wanted to put it in the smoothing category or the hydrating category, because it's a little bit of both. This one does have dimethicone in it. To me, it is a little bit hydrating. Now, I don't know what ingredient in there would technically make it hydrating, but my skin definitely does feel hydrated and refreshed after using this guy. And this one is honestly, I have not talked about this one yet on my channel because I just recently started using it, but this is probably my all-time favorite blurring primer, and this one is from Cover FX. Girl, if you are looking for a smoothing primer that's gonna fill in pores and blur fine lines and wrinkles like this is your stuff. This is it right here. Like, this stuff is so good. Like, I see a substantial difference whenever I use this rather than another primer. Like, it's freaking amazing. Moving on from there, another kind of primer, there are primers specifically designed for filling in pores. So I have a few examples of those. These tend to have a very unique consistency. They're like creamy, but it's thicker. It almost has like a whipped texture to it, you know what I'm saying? It's a very hard consistency to describe. Let me just give you the examples first. The ones that at least I have in my collection. So there is the Pores No More from Dr. Brandt. There is the Porefessional. This one is one of the most popular one. Anyone who really struggles with pores has probably used this product and probably owns it. And then I have not touched this one yet, but there's the Porefessional. This is a pearl primer. So it's the Porefessional formula, but it has a radiance to it. So I'm actually excited to try this one because I love the radiance because I have normal to dry skin. Another one that I wanted to mention in the blurring and smoothing is the Milk Makeup Blur Stick. I have played around with this one a little bit, but I haven't used it on myself yet. I did put this in the mattifying category because it is also known to be mattifying, but it could go in the smoothing / blurring category or the mattifying category. It could go in both. This one is the one that does not have dimethicone or silicone in it, and the reason Milk formulates without silicone and dimethicone is because silicone and dimethicone are both a form of plastic actually, and so there are some people who are very allergic to that, and then some people find it can dry out their skin because it can have a suffocating effect to the skin, which a lot of foundations, like a lot of things, have dimethicone in it in makeup because it's what gives that really nice smooth effect. But some people have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. anyways, that's just your information, and that's why they formulate these guys without silicone and dimethicone. They're actually reformulating their whole line to have no silicone or dimethicone in them. A few of their products still have silicone and dimethicone, like I think their eyebrow pencils or something like that, but they are reformulating to not have dimethicone in it anymore. So if you are looking for products with no silicone or dimethicone, Milk Makeup is your pal. One thing to keep in mind though, whenever you're using any kind of primer, is that you want to make sure that your primer works well with your foundation. And I want to touch a little bit more on that after I've described all the different primers first. So let me finish that, and then I'll dive a little bit more into what I mean by using the right foundation with the right primer. So we went over blurring, we went over pore filling. So with the blurring primers, which by the way, this Cover FX blurring primer is great for pore filling, like fantastic. I had a client who had actual like visible pores, and I used this on her, and it literally, like, you didn't see any pores. It was amazing. Highly recommend this one for pore filling and smoothing. But anyways, all of the smoothing primers, the Cover FX blurring, Photo Finish, Laura Mercier Original, all of these guys you can use all over your face. You could use it under the eyes, just everywhere. You could put it everywhere to give an all over smooth effect, as well as the Milk Makeup Blur Stick. However, with the Porefessional, like anything that's specifically targeted towards just filling in the pores, this one is not meant for fine lines, it's not meant for dryness, it's not meant for mattifying or anything like that. This one is just meant for filling in the pores. So you would want to just press that into the areas where you do have those more visible pores, because this one, because of the consistency of it, if you put too much on and you really like buff it into the skin all over, it's just gonna start to ball up and the foundation won't sit right on it. It just doesn't have a creamy, I don't know, just the consistency of it will not spread out well all over the skin. It's really just meant to be pressed into those areas where you have those pores. So you can press it around the nose, the cheek area, the chin, anywhere that you have those visible pores. Let's move on to mattifying primers. So I have a few different ones here. Now, I don't use mattifying primers because my skin doesn't get oily. I will get a little bit of like end of the day shine, but it's nothing like this is as shiny as I'm gonna get. You know what I'm saying? I really don't have oily skin. My skin is completely normal. Normal if I'm treating it right, and then it'll get a little bit more dry, maybe a little bit more combo, like maybe I'll get a little bit more oil production in here if I'm not taking care of my skin, but really my skin is really normal. So I don't use mattifying primers. I'm really more a smoothing, hydrating, and radiance kind of girl, because I don't have exceptionally large pores either, but I do have a good collection of these things because I do some freelancing on the side. I take care of clients, you know, so I like to have a good selection. Anyways, I have the Boscia Porefecting. So this one could be in the pore filling category as well, but this is the Porefecting White Charcoal Mattifying Treatment Primer. This one has kind of like a really gel kind of, I have some stains on my hand. It has like a really gel kind of consistency, but it's just going to help to control the oil. And that's why I put this in the mattifying category, because in my opinion, this one is more mattifying than it is pore filling. If you're like somebody that's looking for a pore filling primer, like that's your main concern, this one is not going to be your best friend. It will have a little bit of that smoothing, but it's not going to be like your most pore filling primer, which is why I say that. But definitely very mattifying and good for your skin, because this one is from a skincare line. There's the Givenchy Mr. Matte. So this one has a thicker consistency. You can see how mattified my hand is now. Like around here it's reflecting the light, but in here it's not really. And then how would I explain this consistency? This one reminds me a little bit of the Marabella consistency. Oh, you know, Makeup Forever. The Makeup Forever consistency, the mattifying consistency, which the Makeup Forever mattifying primer, by the way, I don't have it in my kit currently, but That stuff is golden. So with mattifying primers, if you have oily skin and you really get oily all over, you do want to take that primer, especially concentrating it in those oilier areas. But if you're oily all over, you can put it all over the face. But if you just have combo skin and you're just trying to target those oily areas, then just put it in those oilier areas. Now, I have had clients before be like, well, then if I just put it in those areas, then it'll be like not shiny here and then shiny here. Well, then bring it down onto any of the areas that get more shiny. You know, it's like put it wherever you feel like you need to put it, you know, whatever works for you. Don't feel like you have to do it one way because you saw one person do it. You know, do what's right for you and your skin. Few other primers. This one is really great. This is from Bare Minerals. It's the Combo Control. This one's really great for people who do have combo skin. So they get really dry on the outer portions of their face, but then they get really oily in the center, maybe on the nose as well. The combo can take place in lots of different ways. They could be dry around the nose, oily on the cheeks, you know what I'm saying? It's always different. This one is great because it's not going to be too drying for those drier parts of the skin, but it's not going to mattify. Like, it will mattify the oils enough. It's just going to help to balance everything. So this is a really great one if you have combo skin. There's also the NARS Pore and Shine Control Primer. Now, this one has a very thin consistency, so that's again why I put it in the mattifying category, because I feel like it's much better at mattifying than it is at smoothing pores. And this consistency reminds me a lot of the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer. So if you like that one, but you're looking for something new to try the NARS Pore and Shine Control Primer. Another one, which this one is really, really nice. This is the Origins Perfecting Cooling Herb. Now this stuff is very interesting because it actually comes out like a foam. Let me see if I can show you. So it kind of comes out like a foam like that. And then you would just take it, just massage that into the skin, into any areas where you get more oily, and it's gonna feel really creamy and hydrating at first, which is really great for, because it is hydrating. It doesn't just feel hydrating, but it's gonna give that shot of hydration, which is actually really great for oily skin, because the better that you hydrate your skin, the less oil your skin feels the need to produce. So at first it's gonna give you that shot of hydration, but then as you work it in and it dries down, it's really, really mattifying. It's gonna help to create that film over your skin so that there's that barrier between your skin and the foundation, so that as oils come up throughout the day, it doesn't disrupt the foundation as much. So that's a really nice one. Also very soothing. It smells so good, like it's so refreshing. I saved my favorite kinds of primers for last because they're my favorite and I wanted to talk about them. So we have the Smashbox Radiance Primer, and I always forget to use this. Every time I wake up in the morning, I don't know why, I just forget to use this. So I've had this little guy for a while, and now that I'm seeing it, like as I was pulling out my primers today, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to remember to use this because I really, really love this stuff. So Becca Backlight Priming Filter and the Laura Mercier Radiance Primers, I would say in order, because these ones are probably the three most popular. The Smashbox Photo Finish Radiance Primer, the Becca Backlight Priming Filter, and the Laura Mercier Radiance Primer. All three of those are the most popular ones, and in order, I would say this one is the top one, the Smashbox Radiance Primer. I really feel like if you're looking for that radiance, this one is going to give you the most radiance. Then the Laura Mercier one, then the Becca Backlight Priming Filter. Radiance means that it's going to give a little bit of a light reflecting quality to it. So whenever you're mattifying something, you're taking all the shine, all the light reflecting quality out of it. So see how this hand here is kind of catching the light a little bit? It has a little bit of natural radiance to it. This one is not doing that at all because I have those mattifying primers on it. So whenever you are trying to enhance radiance, you're trying to enhance how much light is reflecting off of your skin. Now you could mix this into your makeup, but you can definitely put it on before. So if I work this into the skin, it basically adds that little bit of shimmer. So see how much light it reflects now? That's what bringing radiance to the skin means. And especially for girls like me who have normal to dry skin, we want the radiance because we're like, put more hydration and oil in my skin because I just look like a Sahara desert over here. So this is one of my favorites. I really feel like this one adds a lot of radiance to the skin. I really, really love this one, and I honestly only use this one sparingly because I love it so much that I I don't want it to go away. Like, I don't want it to end. So this one is the Air Flash CC primer from Dior, and you just shake it up. And I really only use this primer whenever I use my Dior Air Flash, and I use my Dior Air Flash very sparingly because it's expensive. It's like $62. I love it so much that I only want to use it on special occasions. So I only use this whenever I use my Dior Air Flash primer. This is a radiance and color correcting primer. Whenever I apply this one, I do not apply it directly. You don't just spray it on. I don't do that with the Air Flash one either. I would spray it on a sponge or a brush or whatever you're gonna use. I'm just gonna spray it on the back of my hand for now though. So it has that little bit of tint to it. Then you massage it into the skin and it's gonna add that little bit of color correction and radiance. See how it's reflecting the light a little bit there? I love this stuff. It just adds a little bit, not of just like light reflection, but like brightness as well. I don't know, I can't explain it. It's so nice. It's so beautiful. And it smells good. And it feels a little bit cooling on the skin. So those are the ones that I personally own for radiance. Now my all-time favorite kinds of primers are hydration primers. I love these so much. I am always like, give me all the hydration in the world. Give me the hydration. So hydration primers are basically just primers that are smoothing because they have dimethicone in them, but they also have a shot of hydration. So they're gonna help to boost your hydration levels throughout the day while still prepping your skin and smoothing it over with that dimethicone before you apply your foundation. Which even if it didn't have the dimethicone in it, just having something that is hydrating is automatically going to make your foundation apply a lot nicer, because the more hydrated your skin is beforehand, the smoother your foundation, powder, whatever will go on top of it, because your skin doesn't feel dry and it's not going to be catching to anything since it's hydrated. So NYX is a really, really good option. This is the first hydrating primer I ever started using and I was like, oh my god, changed my life. Love it so much, feels so nice and hydrating, feels lightweight, is just so beautiful. I love it so much. Really great if you're somebody who has normal to dry skin but you like to wear long wearing matte foundations. Girl, you need a hydrating primer because that will really, really help you. And also I would highly recommend like a hydrating setting spray or something. With radiance primers, I forgot to say, with these guys you can apply them all over your face because you want that all over radiance. Now you can mix them into your foundation as well to give your foundation a more radiant look overall if you really want that radiance rather than putting it under your foundation. However, most people do just put it under their foundation to give that little hint of radiance throughout the day. Kind of really up to you as to what you like to do. I would not use it as like a highlighter. Like this guy, I would not take it and put it like on the tops of your cheekbones. You probably could get away with doing that, but it's really designed to be either in the makeup or under the makeup. So I would just be wary about that. And there are products that are specifically designed to go on top of makeup. So with mattifying primers, you just want to target certain areas. Smoothing primers can go all over. Pore filling primers to go in specific areas as well. And then hydrating primers, obviously you basically just want to use them like you would use a moisturizer. So you use them all over the face. I use them under my eyes, on top of my eyes, like anywhere that I want hydration, which is everywhere. That's where I put them. So the 3 hydrating primers that I have would be the NYX Hydra Touch. Great starting one if you're just kind of getting your feet wet with primers and you don't want to go drop $1 million on primers. NYX is very affordable. I think it's around $5.99, so it's like $6 for this guy. It's a pretty big tube. It is, how many ounces? 1.05. Second favorite would be the Too Faced Hangover RX, the Replenishing Face Primer. This one has coconut water. It is a probiotic based primer, which means that it's really great for promoting the growth of good bacteria and fighting off bad bacteria, because if you don't know, like eating things like yogurt helps with your digestive system because it promotes the growth of good bacteria because it has probiotics in it which fight the bad bacteria. This is really, really great if you are acne prone. So if you're like combo to dry and you are also acne prone, this would be a really good one for you because it'll give you that hydration so that your skin doesn't overcompensate and produce excess oil. It'll also hydrate the drier parts of your skin, and then it will also help to balance the bacteria in your skin. So in the long term hopefully help with acne and stuff like that. This one is actually silicone free. Now I think it might still have dimethicone in it, but it says that it is silicone free. So yeah, this is a really good option. Then my all-time favorite is the Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer. This one of course is the most expensive one, but hey, it's my favorite. I've gone through half the bottle now, which makes me kind of sad. It makes me not want to use it anymore because I'm like, I don't want it to go away. It is a primer and a moisturizer in one, and really that just means that it has silicone and dimethicone in it, but it also has hyaluronic acid in it. Hyaluronic acid is a key ingredient for pulling moisture into the skin. It actually pulls 1,000 times its weight in water from the air into your skin. So it's really like a lot of moisturizers will have hyaluronic acid in it and stuff like that. So it's a really great primer for keeping your skin hydrated throughout the day to make your makeup stay looking fresh and not starting to get dry and crack and fall apart and everything in between. So just to kind of recap everything, we have blurring and smoothing primers. These are ones that you would want to apply all over the face, great for any skin type. We have pore filling primers. These are ones that you would want to target in just specific areas where you have enlarged pores, and also great for any skin type. We have mattifying primers. These are also ones that you just want to target in specific areas. However, you can use them all over the face if need be. They're ones that you kind of want to customize to whatever your personal needs are. And then we have radiance primers, which you can target in specific areas if you want to, but most people just use them all over the face to give that all over radiance and sheen. They can also be mixed into your foundation. And then hydrating primers, which are meant to be used. Technically, you could probably mix them into your foundation, but it would probably shear them out a little bit, so I wouldn't do that. But these ones you put all over your face, anywhere that you need hydration, around the eyes, on the lips, all over the face, down your neck, down your chest, down your knees. Probably go with most foundations. So that's another thing that I want to touch on. Whenever you are using primers, say we are using the Lancome Pro Base. This one is going to be a very silicone and dimethicone heavy primer, which means that not every foundation is going to work well with it. For example, one of my all-time favorite primers, Smashbox Photo Finish, the original one. One of my all-time favorite foundations is the Dior Air Flash. Now, if I use this foundation primer with that foundation, I hate both of them. They work terribly together. My foundation falls apart, it does not look good, it wears off, it starts to separate, like it just does not, they do not work well together. They don't. And I actually had a client come in and she was like, I really want this foundation to work for me. I've heard so many good things about it, you know, but it's just not working for me. And I asked her, I was like, well, how do you apply it? And she told me, and that was fine. And then I was like, what primer are you using? And sure enough, she was using the Smashbox Photo Finish primer with the Dior Air Flash. And so I had to tell her, I was like, love that foundation, love that primer, hate them together. You cannot wear them together. And I showed her, I applied everything actually with no primer on, and she was like, oh my gosh, this looks so much better than how it normally does. And I was like, yeah, because they just don't work well together. They just don't. I mean, it's always gonna be because of ingredients, like certain ingredients don't work well together, but sometimes you can predict what's gonna work well together and what won't. For example, my Josie Maran Vibrancy foundation would not work well with my NYX Hydra Boost or my primerizer from Smashbox because these are both water-based primers and this is an oil-based foundation. I mean, think about whenever you put oil and water in a cup, like it never mixes together, it always stays separated no matter what you do. So it's gonna be the same principle. If you put an oil foundation, an oil-based foundation over a water-based primer, it's not gonna sit well together and it could start to slip and slide around or break up and stuff like that. So whenever you're using primers, you just want to be conscious of what the ingredients are, and even if you don't know, just don't buy a foundation, use it with one primer, it falls apart or something like that and you're like, what the heck is going on with this foundation? If it doesn't work well and you always use like the same primer, then maybe take that primer out of the equation, wear the foundation by itself, yourself, or you can even do what I do in some of my wear tests, or all of my wear tests. Wear the primer on one side and wear nothing on the other side, and make sure that if the foundation is breaking up and falling apart or acting weird, that it's not because it's reacting badly with your primer. You could either just need a different primer, or it could be just a foundation that you will wear without a primer. So that's just another thing to consider whenever you are getting primers and picking primers and foundations, what to go together and stuff like that. Just, you know, be a little bit more ingredient conscious. So I think that pretty much wraps up everything. That was a pretty informational video. I love doing little informational videos like this, like quick tips and tricks. And I like to do videos like this because I don't see a lot of videos of people just talking about makeup products in depth like this, because there will be a lot of people that talk about, you know, oh, I wear this primer all the time and I love it and here's why, you know, but really getting to the nitty gritty and talking about ingredients and what works well together and what doesn't, and why one thing works and why, I think that's really important. So that's why I like doing videos like this. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video as well. Let me know if you guys have any additional questions, if I miss anything, if there's anything about primers that you were wondering that I didn't cover in this video. I will definitely reply to you down in the comments below, and I think that pretty much wraps it up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like this video, and if you want to hear more not really instructional, informational, in-depth tips and tricks and things like that. Let me know if you like it and give it a thumbs up if you do, and I will see you all in Monday's tutorial. Thanks for watching. Bye. Oh, I forgot to say, with Radiance primers, you want to apply those. What did I just do to myself? Oh my god. Oh my gosh, what did I do?